Just like when they get an offer, the house is set at 500,000 and they're like, they get an offer of 465. That's insulting. I'm not taking that. I can certainly agree that you feel this is insulting, and we don't have to take this. Can I ask you a quick question? What's that? Well, how long have you been on the market? Three weeks. Yeah. And how many offers have we received? None. So what is the market telling us about the listing price that we have right now? My question is, Mark, how much does this cost you every month to carry your home?
No, it's costing us about $3,000 a month. Hey everybody, it's Mark Ramey, and we are doing the Mark Ramey podcast. Today we have an amazing guest from South Florida. He's here today to talk to us about questions. Why are questions important? Well, for a long time in my real estate business, I was the agent that liked to tell people what to do. And it ended up looking like this. I would just end up, running into people. My clients were not happy with me, and we weren't guiding our clients to their desired outcome. So Mark is the expert on questions. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today, Mark.
Super excited to be here.
I'm super grateful to have him on because my tendency in the past as a real estate agent has been to fail at communication by not asking enough questions. My tendency in the past has been to tell. Mark Diaz is an expert at asking great questions that leads our clients to their desired outcomes. So, Mark, welcome. We're really glad to have you here.
Mark, thank you for having the opportunity to join your podcast today. I'm super excited about it, and I'm ready to have some fun.
So, Mark, you are, as I've been told, a master at questions. And tell me a little bit about that and how you came about being such a wizard and why that's important to you.
So coming into real estate 20 years ago, I entered at the time, it was like the no talent era. If you woke up, you had a pulse, you can fog up a mirror, you're able to sell a house. So it wasn't really too much selling going on during that time. As the market shifted in 07, 08, it was a little bit different time in selling real estate. So I had to sharpen up my skills. And I learned very quickly that telling people was not getting me the result that I wanted. It was actually very frustrating for the seller, buyer, and myself.
So I wrote down telling people is not getting the result that you wanted. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about that. When it comes to the results, ideally, what are you looking for with your clients?
Yeah. So, it's kind of like flipping the mindset of what can I do to serve them, right? And I heard this years ago, and it has stuck with me. During the Great Depression, and I'm not by any means a male chauvinist, but during the Great Depression, who generally were the ones that went to work? The men, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And the job that they can get during that time was a salesperson. So the husband would stand at the front door, right? The wife was at the refrigerator with it open, kids on both sides of her, and saying, honey, don't come home until you make a sale. And so the husband would go out and force to get a sale. And unfortunately, that has stuck over the years. Mm. And how does it feel to you when you meet somebody and they're just like not listening to you and telling you why you need to buy it? Like, what kind of vibe does that give you?
It repels me. It's repelling.
It repels you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be repelling, how many sales are you going to generate from that?
I get where you're going with that.
Yeah. So what happens is, I had a coach years ago that said to me, do you have that person who, for example, right now on the podcast, that would call in and you would look at your phone and you would answer it, and every word you would hold on to it? Like, you would so intently listen. And she said to me, when you're making your phone calls, you're on a listing appointment, you need to be that dialed in. Why is that? Because then you're like, I really want to know, Mark, versus just going to say what you want to say. So the whole thing with asking questions is for me to find out how I can best serve them. And there's been times by asking questions that I've asked the seller or the buyer, let's say, for example, the seller, why would you even move? It does, from what I'm hearing, unless I'm missing something, what am I missing? It doesn't make sense. And sometimes they're like, you know what? Thank you for helping with that. Sure, I didn't get a sale, but I have a customer for life because it's not about that one time. It's about me providing the more questions I can ask, the better level of service that I can provide.
Okay, expound on that. What is that's significant what you just said. In fact, I want to repeat it. The more questions you can ask, the better level of service you can provide. Tell me more about that.
So I have let's say, for example, you have somebody who is moving to be closer to their family
Mm-hmm.
and their home is not selling or it's an expired listing. Um, I can ask you, so Mark, when you sell your home, where are you moving to? And you're like, oh, we're moving to Fort Lauderdale. Oh my gosh, Fort Lauderdale, it's beautiful down there. And I keep on going. Well, that's only the surface of the motivation that I have. So if I can say to you, because I've had times where like, oh my gosh, Fort Lauderdale, that's exciting. And the spouse will be like, hell, I don't want to go. It's my wife or my husband. I want to stay right here. And you're like, oh, there goes that excitement, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, Fort Lauderdale, okay, tell me more about that. What's taking you to Fort Lauderdale? Oh, my parents, they're older and they're ill, and I talk to my siblings and they feel that, based off of my career, I work at home, that I can be the one to go down there and take care of them. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's great that you're stepping up like that. um, I know your home was on the market for 3 months. How long did you think it was going to take when you put your home on the market to get down there? I thought I was going to be there already. Oh, you thought you were going to be there already? And what would happen if you got an offer today that can get you there in the next 30 to 60 days? What would you do? That right there, I don't need to go on anymore. I got enough there in asking that one question, right? So then if it comes down to it and they're like, I have to get my price. Well, over the phone, the purpose on the phone is not to take the listing. Unless they want to give it to you, I'll take it, right? The purpose of the phone call is to set the appointment. I can ask more questions to get what I need when I'm there to help guide them. It's not forcing them, it's helping them discover what's the best choice for them. And because of that, the experience for everybody is a lot better. They're not feeling like somebody's trying to, force them into something.
Well, and what I heard that you did is, as you said, you took it a step deeper. It wasn't just, oh, I'm moving to Fort Lauderdale. Thanks. Next question. It was, you're moving to Fort Lauderdale. What's important about getting to Fort Lauderdale for you? And then
Mm-hmm.
it went that next level deeper, which is, I have a relative that needs my care. Now,
Yeah.
now that's an emotional reason. People make decisions based on emotion. So you're bringing people from that surfacey level of, where most agents will stop at, I'll get you more, faster, faster, more, faster, faster, more. Most agents will stop there. You're going those levels deeper as to discovering what really is going to bring them that emotion, whatever that is, whether it's going to be, if I'm going to help my family in Fort Lauderdale, it's going to be, I'll feel okay, I'll feel safe, I'll feel, fulfilled because I'm helping my family. And that's an
Yeah.
emotion.
Mm-hmm.
How, tell me how did you get so good at questions?
That's a great question. When I first started in direct sales part of real estate, right? When I first got into real estate, I did postcards and waited for people to call. Um, I got rejected a lot,
Hmm.
like a lot. It took me like 6 months, and I'm a very competitive person. So I started recording my role plays, and this is not like we have today where technology's a whiz. It was plugging a cassette player into the phone
Yeah.
and then driving around with the cassette and listening to me getting hung up on, and then it was just talking to great agents like yourself, asking them, how did you become so good? That's one thing. The second thing was learning the scripts. internalizing, not just learning them, internalizing them. And that allows me, because if you look at most of the scripts, they are question based, right? And then the third thing is, I had a coach one time, I asked her the same question you asked me. How did you get so good at asking questions? Her coach said, for 30 days, why don't you write down 50 questions a day, open ended questions, which are who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then, that will help you get out of thinking in statements and start thinking in terms of questions. So you can go ahead and take an example of whatever is going on in the market, maybe the objection that you're getting. Okay. And then have a conversation with yourself in terms of asking questions. So you may not write down the replies, but you write, in your head, you answer it and you write down the next question. So that way, when you're talking to somebody, it's just natural of asking them that question.
That's rich. So as I was listening to you, I wrote down, you recorded yourself, even though you had a lot of friction in getting there. I mean, let's face it, recording ourselves years ago on a tape recorder, because I did it too. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And yet you took the steps to do it. You asked great agents for help. You learned the script, and you realize those great scripts are question based. But this one blows my mind. I've never heard of this before. For 30 days, you wrote down 50 questions per day.
Yeah.
That's
I
commitment.
still, I still write about 10 questions to 15, about 2 to 3 times a week. And that helps because, what happens if you have an inspection report that comes back? Do you immediately call the seller? Right? Because if you did your first step of pre-qualifying them and their where, their when, and the why,
Yep.
right? When that inspection report comes back, because let's face it, a lot of sellers are like, well, it's been working fine just for me. I'm not taking care of it, right? They can take care of it. They're getting a hell of a deal. Look at the Taj Mahal. It's beautiful over here. And it's like, well, if you don't do it, they're going to walk. So they may not want them to walk, but they're going to like fold their arms over and say, well, I don't want to give in. Let them walk. So how you would handle that in questions is, Mark, I can certainly appreciate that this is very frustrating for you. It's frustrating for me because I know how important it is for you to get to Orlando to be closer to your family. I know what it's going to do for you. So we have a couple choices here, and it's totally up to you. It's your house. I just want to make sure that you make the best decision, right? Number one, we can say the heck with them. Go pound salt. Go kick rocks. We're not doing a darn thing. As is, as is, right? Option number two is we can figure out to find a happy medium, right? Which would you prefer? Well, I'm not going to do anything. No problem. You don't have to do anything at all. Let me ask you this. The inspection report showed that the roof has several leaks, correct? At some point, you're going to have to replace the roof. Do you want to do it right now in terms of negotiating with the buyer? And so that way you can get to Orlando? Or would you rather sit here for the next 3 to 6 months and do the roof yourself? Totally up to you.
Now, what you did there was wonderful. It was brilliant because where I've so many times in my career, I've said, well, you got to take this offer. And whose perspective is that? That's mine.
Yeah.
Versus you gave them the latitude to know that they were in control, and you spelled out their choices. But the first thing that you did, even before you spelled out their choices, you reminded them of why they were making this move. You
Mm-hmm.
reminded them of
Oh,
what was important. So you brought up their motivation. And then through the
correct.
process, I felt super comfortable. I felt like either way, you were going to be supporting me. So,
Yeah.
that was, it felt to me like a win-win question.
Yeah.
So,
So just like when they get an offer, the house is set at 500,000 and they're like, they get an offer of 465. That's insulting. I'm not taking that. I can certainly agree that you feel this is insulting, and we don't have to take this. Can I ask you a quick question? What's that? Well, how long have you been on the market? Three weeks. Yeah. And how many offers have we received? None. So what is the market telling us about the listing price that we have right now?
it could be too high.
Yeah. And you know how agents get paid, right? They don't get paid a salary, they get paid a commission.
Yeah.
And so we haven't even gotten the agents to slow their buyers down enough to write us an offer. So we have a choice. We can work with this buyer and counter. We can let them go. And then in 30 days now, we can reduce the price again. My question is, Mark, how much does this cost you every month to carry your home?
It's costing us about $3,000 a month.
Yeah. So as of right now, if it took another 8 months for you to get a contract, isn't that the same thing today as taking 465?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. And if you're not getting the price that you want for your home, does it make sense the home that you're going to buy, the same thing is happening to them?
Yeah, yeah.
So whatever you decide to do is totally fine by me.
Nice, nice. Mark
And,
Diaz.
and I wouldn't know how much they owe on the home if I didn't have that conversation with them in the beginning.
Yep.
Because if I try to get now at that time, they're like, oh, here he is. He's trying to get salesman, salesman, salesman.
You position it from a perspective that you're making it all about them. And
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm super grateful for your time. You know, when you said that you would come on and spend a little time with me so that we could all learn and grow about questions, I knew that you just had a little bit of time, and I want to respect that.
Yeah.
Now, you sell real estate in South Florida, right? What part of
Correct.
Florida?
So I handle all of Broward County
Okay.
and I go into the top half of Miami-Dade County. So like all the way down to like Miami Shores over to Sunny Isles
Okay,
on
terrific.
up.
All right, great. Now, so you're an amazing agent in that area, and I know you'll service clients well. How would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to connect with you for an opportunity to serve in that area?
Yeah, for sure. My direct line is 954
Mm-hmm.
541 7702. My email is mark, MARC, at the Diaz, DIAZ, realtygroup.com.
There it is, everybody. The agent to deal with in South Florida that has taught us today the value of asking questions. Mark Diaz, I'm super grateful for you taking the time away from your business, your family, just to come here and educate us. We appreciate you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.